Today, we're going to talk about if your partner says this, your relationship might be in trouble. So, specifically, we're going to talk about actual people who are in real partnerships right now. So, not dating, more so, just actual committed relationships. Something that's important when I do work with couples, I work with both singles and couples, is that lots of people love to talk about communication, right? Oh, communication is so important. I'm a good communicator, but actual excellent communication involves both speaking and listening. And not listening to rebuttal or debate, but listening, truly listening to understand your partner, like putting down your own walls of ego and needing to be right. Because if there's an argument and somebody feels like they have to win, then that means somebody loses. And if somebody feels like they have to be right, then that means somebody else is wrong. And actually, there's no good communication there. There is nothing effective or that is healthy that is actually happening in that relationship. So, what you want, mature communication, healthy communication involves sometimes you just shutting the hell up and listening to that other person. And again, listening to understand, what are they truly saying? What is also beneath those words, right? And then when it is your turn to talk, first, do not interrupt them, okay? Do not interrupt them. And when it is your turn to talk, ask them for the same respect and the same courtesy. In fact, actually, create rules for each other, okay? Create rules, your rules that only you have made up, okay? And rules that work for both of you. So, do not interrupt when the other person is talking. If there's something you really, really want to say, like write it down. Like grab a little notepad really fast and just write it down. But pay attention and keep eye contact. That is super important. All of us in relationships, I don't care if it's a romantic partnership, a family, a friend, but like our important relationships, all of us want to feel that we are seen, that you hear us, that you understand, that you have compassion for, that you care, that you give a shit. So when you are communicating with your significant other, with your partner, be that person. Be that person. I know you love them, otherwise you wouldn't be with them. So show them that love. Give them that time when they're talking. Shut your mouth, hear, let it land what they are saying, and then you, after they are finished, you then say what you have to say. But also, here's another aspect to this. Do not make them wrong for what they have said to you, meaning you made me feel like this and you did this to me and you did that to me, okay? First of all, nobody can do anything to you. That's just first and foremost, okay? Like, stop acting like you're a victim. Nobody can do anything to you. You allow. And when you speak from that way, it automatically puts up defenses. Defenses. The other person, unless they've done some inner work, the other person is like, I don't even hear you anymore. Because it puts them on the defense. You're blaming them, you're shaming them. Nobody wants to hear that. Take responsibility for yourself in here. So, in other words, how that can look is, hey, babe, when you did such and such at such and such, it made me feel this way. As an example, you own how you feel because your feelings are your responsibility. Like it or not, it's not theirs. It isn't theirs. And it doesn't mean that they don't care. And it doesn't mean that they get to act like a jerk and mistreat you. That's not what I'm saying. But stop giving your power away and making it their fault that you're unhappy or their fault that you can't express how you feel or what you want. It's always yours. Next, understand with each other how that person likes to be loved. In other words, take the time to ask them, what is it that you can do? Then I'm not talking about love languages, okay? Not really talking about that because really, what was that book? Like five of them? There's way more than that, okay? So forget about that. Forget about that. Within each other, have the conversation. Hey, babe, when do you feel most loved? What is something that I do that makes you feel so loved, so cared for, so respected, so appreciated? And it could, each one of those could be something different too, not just one. Ask each other this and then make a note of it. Write it down somewhere so that you know it and then practice that. Most of us love the other from how we want to be loved. Well, I do this because that's what I would want done. But you're not them and they're not you. That's not how they want to be loved. Take the time and ask them, what makes you feel loved? And then make sure you make a note of it and make sure that uh, your relationship has those things in it, that you practice whatever that is daily, not just once in a while, not just on a special occasion, but all the time. And then if, exchange that. You tell them what makes you feel loved. They tell you what makes them feel loved. This is reciprocal. Relationships aren't supposed to be one-sided. Another thing is that understand each other's pasts. Past trauma, childhood past wounds. If they haven't done any inner work to heal from past negative experiences, and even if they have, there is nothing more triggering, friends. Nothing more triggering. You could do all the inner work you want for just you alone, solo, and I highly recommend it. It's super important. But once you get into a romantic partnership, it triggers the fuck out of you. There is nothing more triggering than being in a romantic partnership that will expose, if you will, all those parts that you thought you healed, where you're like, holy shit, I thought I healed my abandonment wound. I thought I healed my unworthiness wound. And here it is going, ta da da! Look, still here. So it's important to know those things about your partner. And it's also important for you to share those things about yourself too. These are things that most of us don't think of. These are things that a lot of us are really terrified to talk about. But these things can make or break relationships. And when you can relate from this kind of space, you will have the depth in a relationship that is unshakable, that is beautiful, that is better than anything you've ever thought is possible. But you have to be willing to be very, what's the word? Vulnerable. Vulnerable. Think about this. Intimacy, the word, equals into me, see. Be willing to let that person see all of you, not just the bright and shiny parts, not just the so-called good parts of what society would say were good, the dark parts, the so-called ugly parts, the parts that you're just like, I don't want anybody to know this about me. the shadow parts, the unlovable parts. Those are the parts that really, really need to be accepted first by you and then by your partner. So, where was I? I kind of lost, I'll check on my notes here really fast. I kind of lost, I go off on like these tangents. Um, oh yes, understanding their childhood, their past trauma, the parts that trigger them. That's really like how you can look at it. What triggers them? Learn to understand what that is. And then I'm not saying walk around on eggshells, but then do your best to be compassionate about that, to be loving about that, to purposely not poke the bear. Right? So many of us know when we're in intimate relationships, in romantic partnerships, what the other thing, that thing that really like, pokes the bear, that really pisses them off. And then we make the mistake to try to win a fight that, oh, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna just like get you where it hurts. That is so damaging. It is so damaging to that relationship. It breaks trust. It breaks it breaks bonds. It makes that other person feel like, wow, you're like just a really horrible person. How could you use that against me? How could you weaponize that against me? So cultivate understanding what are your partner's triggers. Talk about it and then have compassion for them. If a trigger comes up, it's like, oh, babe, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that, right? Again, you're not walking on eggshells. You're showing that person that you love them, that they matter, that they care. And that does so much good for your bond, for your love, for the depth of your connection. Next, together you're building something with each other, right? When you're in a committed relationship, whether it's marriage or it's just a long-term partnership, your relationship has to take priority. It has to, and this doesn't mean you lose yourself in the relationship. This doesn't mean that, your friends don't matter, that your family doesn't matter. That's not what it means at all. But I see so many times that people put their relationship on the back burner. It's second, it's third, it's fourth, it's 10th. It's not even on the list. And that is so detrimental because what are you doing then? What are you even doing? Your relationship, the our, the we has to matter. Of course, you both have your own lives. That is super healthy. Of course, you both have your own thing. But also, your relationship, the us, the we, has to take precedence. It has to take priority. It can't be a thing that, you just, when I have time, because it's going to fall apart. Imagine it's like a garden, right? Imagine your relationship is this garden and you're either watering it or it's dying. You're either planting beautiful seeds for beautiful fruits and vegetables and flowers, garden, right? Or you are not. You're not tending to the garden. You are not giving it care. You're not nourishing it. You're not nurturing it. You're not loving it. And then what happens? Weeds. What happens? Things die. Things wither, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just use it as like a metaphor. So take the time, the love, the care, and make your relationship with your significant other, with your partner, a priority. Make each other a priority. And again, you're not losing yourself here. Having a sense of self and being your own self in a healthy partnership is crucial. It is super important. But your relationship has to matter. And another thing here that I see often, and I used to actually, I dealt with this in two of my past marriages, like, again, one was 7 years ago and one was 12, 13 years ago. It was allowing the families to get in the middle of the two of you. Don't do that. Don't allow it. It is so unhealthy. The sides talk shit about your significant other. They talk shit about you. And then you got to defend, or they're mean to your partner, or they're disrespectful, or they have no boundaries. And so they like insert themselves into your private life, your relationship, and they make it their personal business. And I know that this is different culturally, but it's not healthy because, again, that other person feels betrayed, really. It feels, it just doesn't feel good. It's not healthy. You two have created something together, and you might even have a family too. You've created your own family, whether it's the two of you or it's the two of you and children. You've created your own relationship here, right? Your own creation, the beautiful garden that I'm talking about. You have to protect it. And again, it doesn't mean you don't love mom and dad. It doesn't mean you don't love your extended family, your brothers and sisters, your aunts and uncles, your kids even. But you have to make sure that others have boundaries of what is acceptable to talk about, what's not. You know, if you ask for advice, then they can give it, right? But don't give me unsolicited advice, basically. That's like a really good one. Because people will do that. Like both of my ex-mother-in-laws were Italian. I'm not talking shit about Italians, but they imposed their viewpoints in my life and in my marriage. They imposed their will in my life and in my marriage of what made me a good woman and not a good woman, what made me a good wife and not a good wife, what made me a good mother and not a good mother. And they really loved to drive home what made me not a good mother or a good wife. You just saw my Doberman Khaleesi there for a second, the ears over here. Anyway, I digress. So make sure that you two have this understanding with each other and be able to have this open communication, healthy, loving, not blaming, not shaming, not pointing your finger, not using anything in the past as a weapon, and be willing to be open and honest and vulnerable and true about how you were feeling. And remind yourself you love this person. You love this person. Don't you want them to feel loved? And you also deserve that level of love. Something else, and this can be the case where there has been blended families, where kids already exist from a previous marriage on one side or both. You have to be a united front, meaning there has to be ground rules, and you and your partner are the ones to establish them. It's not your kids who get to establish those, okay? First of all, it's not their place, and second of all, they shouldn't have to even think about or worry about these things. But you two have to be a united front, and you two decide, are you all co-parenting everybody's kids, or are you parenting yours and I'm parenting mine? Don't let anybody make that decision for you. Only you can make that decision for yourself and for each other. Whatever you two agree on, whatever you feel most comfortable with is what you should do. Don't let anybody else influence you on here, okay? There has to be rules, and all kids have to be treated the same. Have to be. They all have to feel that they are loved and that they matter and that everybody is loved and cared for, and not some are mistreated and some are treated better. It's it's just not good. It's just not good. And it's not healthy and it's not fair. So that's important. Cultivate ground rules between each other and then have a family meeting and let everybody know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Acceptable behavior, not acceptable behavior. Here's the consequences of unacceptable behavior and or the ramifications, right? And then make sure that you enforce whatever those are. Don't just be this talking head. That's like a mistake we've made as parents is kind of being a talking head and saying, hey, these are the rules, and then the kids break the rules and then you don't do anything about it. I'm not saying telling you how to parent your children, but if you say something, you got to mean it. Otherwise, nobody's going to respect you. Nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to trust you. And then nobody's going to follow the rules. So kids do well with structure. So boundaries set structure. Make sure that you and your partner are the ones who figure that out together. And then you have the conversation with the kids, okay? So, and even have some input from the kids, but not too much, okay? You understand what I'm saying. This is not trying to be a parenting conversation. Another thing that's important is that sometimes staying together isn't actually good for both of you. I know in this world we live in, especially in the United States, there is, 50 to 60% divorce rate. There's also people that stay together forever who really don't even have a healthy relationship and really just stay together because they're afraid of being alone. Sometimes relationships are forever, and sometimes they're just for a short period of time or for a limited amount of time. Don't let society's version of what relationships look like shape yours. The healthiest, happiest, hottest, best connections, best relationships cultivate many of the things that I've just shared and have mutual love, appreciation, and respect for each other. And do not make the other responsible for their happiness, for filling up their cup, right? They're complementary with an E. They they are a partnership, if you will, right? It's not where it used to be, where the men were more the leaders of the relationship and the women's were just submissive and subservient. That's not the world we're living in right now. Women are well, we've always been valuable and wise, but now society is finally catching up to this and understanding. And more women are wanting actual partnerships where it feels like a team where you can't keep your hands off of your teammate. And so are men. They are wanting a woman who is wise, who is strong, who is powerful, who is comfortable in her own skin and brings something to the table, so to speak, right? So understand that as well. I will leave it on this. Many of us, many people running around right now, or many people who are dating and in relationships, or forget dating, we're talking about relationships right now. Many people who are in relationships right now are like a bunch of little children running around in adult bodies trying to get their childhood needs met. Doing your own personal development work, doing your own inner child healing, seeking out therapy on your own and with your partner, working with a coach, a relationship coach. These are all super important so that the past doesn't come to affect or impact the future or the present, actually, that the old wounds from mom or dad don't actually come and impact this current relationship. So understand kind of goes back to the beginning of what I was talking about. We're understanding your partner's triggers and your triggers, understanding how they feel loved, appreciated, respected, adored, and then doing whatever it takes for you to heal any of those wounds that might still be showing up in your partnership, that might be sabotaging your relationship, that is causing you to break down, or is causing them to break down, or is causing you to wall up, armor up, and get defensive. Be willing to do whatever it takes to become the best version of you, because everybody in your life benefits. Everybody in your life, you, your partner, future children, current children, every relationship you have benefits when you are the best version of you, especially you. I hope you enjoyed this session, this teaching, this episode. For, of course, more real talk and no bullshit, subscribe. Until next time.